Once a cheater, always a cheater.
The love story between Steve Harvey and his wife Marjorie Harvey seems like one for the books, but it turns out that Marjorie has been keeping a secret, and now everything has come crashing down for Marjorie.
He was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know who this is, but I'm gonna marry her."
And Steve's own children have finally come forward to talk about just how manipulative she really is.
What happened to me and Marjorie was we got together at a point in our life where we had both failed at this miserably.
Steve first met Marjorie back in 1990 at a comedy club while he was performing. Apparently, he saw her in the front row and told her that he was going to marry her one day. They dated for nearly a year and a half, but Marjorie apparently ended up dumping Steve when he became homeless and was living out of his car. During that time, Steve admitted that it was one of the lowest points of his life, and it seemed like Marjorie was not willing to be there for him either.
Well, once you get it wrong, you learn from it.
It seems like Marjorie didn't want to be with someone who was struggling.
When Steve and I got together, he had a whole nother idea of what he was planning on doing after his divorce.
But y'all, here's the weird thing. Steve and Marjorie later reconnected in 2005 after his second divorce, and after dating for a year, he proposed to her, and they even got married in 2007. On the surface, it looked like Marjorie didn't want anything to do with him when he was broke, and she has been given the title of gold digger on more than one occasion. But over the years, Steve has defended her against the gold digger accusations and claimed that it was never true.
And that's what I call a very soft threat.
Marjorie has also been married twice before, once to a man named Jim Townsend and once to another man named Darnell Woods, and their relationships were really bizarre. Her first husband, Jim, started making headlines after writing his tell-all memoir about his marriage to Marjorie back in the 1990s. According to Radar Online, Jim decided to finally speak out and that he had no allegiance to her anymore. The book was mostly written while he spent time in prison and was aimed to tell his side of the story. And if you're wondering what he was doing in prison, it turns out that Marjorie's first husband was involved in a major crime ring, and his illegal activities finally caught up to him and ultimately led to his imprisonment. In 1992, he was given life in prison for conspiracy to process with the intent to distribute certain illegal substances, but he was later pardoned in 2017 by former President Barack Obama. It seems as though Marjorie allegedly might have been more involved than she would care to admit, and she was even reportedly under investigation by the FBI during her marriage to Jim. Although she herself was never charged with any crime, the marriage and her closeness to the whole thing seemed pretty off, and it makes you wonder just how much she knew about it, considering the fact that Jim was heavily involved in criminal behavior throughout their entire relationship. Marjorie married her second husband, Darnell, in the early 2000s, and not much is known about their relationship, although it was also believed that her second husband was also involved in a criminal ring involving illegal substances, which marks her second time being close to that kind of criminal behavior. The two of them had a daughter named Lori together, but not much else is known about their relationship other than that. The whole thing remains a mystery, which is also pretty strange when you think about it. Of course, after she divorced Darnell, it's when she reconnected with Steve, but the whole thing is kind of fishy when you actually break down her actions. First, she dated Steve, but broke up with him due to his lack of success, and then she went on to marry two men who were highly involved in criminal behavior, which would have resulted in a risky but lucrative lifestyle, only for her to reach out to Steve after he had become successful to get back with him. Even if he defends his wife and says she isn't a gold digger, it seems like she was looking for a husband that was going to give her the highest payout, and the fact that she was close to not one but two criminal rings is pretty suspicious. While Steve now preaches about being a wholesome Christian family man, it seems as though his biological children have a different opinion. To them, their father abandoned them in order to pursue fame, and while his rags to riches story is certainly inspiring in many ways, you can't help but think about what his kids must have been feeling while he was finding success. His son Broderick even remembers one point where he begged his father to still be a part of his life, which didn't seem to be met with the response he was looking for. And when Steve married Marjorie, he adopted her 3 children, including Lori, as his own, but his biological children feel as though he favors his stepchildren more than his real ones. And in Marjorie's constant social media posts, it seems like Steve's eldest daughters are constantly excluded. Nearly all of Steve's biological children remain firm on the belief that Marjorie is just a gold digger who is only interested in Steve's money and fame, and they also feel the same toward her daughter Lori, who they believe is using Steve's fame to launch her own career. By all accounts of the children, they believe that Marjorie is a master manipulator and is really the one in charge of the Harvey household. In Insiders close to the family have come forward to claim that Marjorie is a control freak and wants everyone to live the life she decides for them. They also claim that Marjorie has caused tension between Steve's previous wives and his relationship with his biological children. And Steve's children have also backed up these claims and said that both Marjorie and Lori have manipulated Steve into becoming an even more terrible father. On top of already abandoning them during their younger years, they claim that their father just throws money at problems and he doesn't actually try to fix them, which just ends up causing even more chaos and distress between the family members. And if you think that it's surprising that Lori would be acting like that, it's important to note that she was raised entirely by her mother, and there's no doubt that Steve also gives her the princess treatment and treats her far better than he's ever treated any of his own children. But his own children aren't the only ones who have come forward about Marjorie's manipulative behavior. Michael B. Jordan, who was in a relationship with Lori between 2020 and 2022, has also claimed similar things. While the two of them went through a very public breakup in the summer of last year, it seemed like Michael was devastated but relieved. It was widely rumored that Marjorie was the puppet master behind the whole relationship, and she was allegedly trying to get her daughter Lori to be in a relationship with someone famous in order to further her career. There were even more rumors going around that Michael was suspicious of Marjorie's involvement from the beginning, and it seems like she put more than her 2 cents in when it came to their breakup too. In January of this year, Michael spoke out about the breakup during his appearance hosting SNL, and it seemed like he was still pretty hurt by the whole thing. An insider source had told people that despite the love they had for each other, Lori just wasn't ready to commit, even though Michael was, and Lori was apparently too focused on her career to settle down. But there are rumors floating around that Michael wanted her to sign a prenup and that her mother allegedly advised against it. So what do you think about this whole thing? Do you believe the allegations Steve's biological children have made against Marjorie and Lori, or do you think they're just jealous? Do you think that Marjorie is manipulating the family and even attempting to further her own daughter's career by orchestrating relationships with other celebrities? I would love to hear your thoughts on this one, so let me know what you think in the comments below.